Hey guys, welcome to TFL Classics and welcome to the 2-year update of classic car ownership with the 1982 Mercedes Benz 300D, the W123 platform of car. I bought this way back in 2019. All right, maybe not way back, but it feels like forever ago. And in this video, I'm going to tell you what it's been like to live with a 1982 diesel Mercedes for the last couple of years, talk about the pros and the cons, and then we're going to take this puppy for a spin. All right, so I'm pretty embarrassed to say this, but I haven't popped this hood in like 3 months. And in fact, I didn't even pop it last. My mechanic, Toby at German Auto, did for its yearly service. And you can see it's looking quite dirty under here because at some point in the last few months, this little hose that recirculates excess exhaust from the valve cover into the intake has cracked, and it's just been spewing diesel exhaust all over the engine bay, making it quite dirty. So this is my ghetto fix until my new one arrives in a couple of days. But perhaps that is a testament to this vehicle's reliability that I haven't even needed to do anything under the engine bay for months and months. It runs. I mean, these cars have a reputation for reliability and longevity and bulletproof strength. And I have to say, from an engine and drivetrain standpoint, that is 1000% true from my experience. Now, over the last few years, I don't drive this car as much as I'd like to. I've, put a few thousand miles on it, but it never fails to run. It never fails to start, even in really cold Colorado winters. If I've had to move it in the middle of winter, glow the plugs and it'll crank right over. Now, that isn't to say that the car has been perfect, because even though these old diesels will always get you home, things will go wrong on them in terms of the electronics and the interiors, and especially the vacuum systems. So the thing about the 123 is that a lot of systems run off of vacuum. So stuff such as the door locks, vacuum actuated. The cruise control runs off of vacuum. Even the transmission shift points are all vacuum operated. So when I bought this car, it was shifting pretty weird from first to second. It was far too firm. It was like a jolt. I spent quite a lot of time bringing this car to a couple of different places to get those systems looked at. And I've probably put $1,500 at this point into the vacuum systems. Now I'm happy to say it's pretty sorted. So the door locks work consistently well. The transmission shift points are much better. They're still not perfect. Every now and then I'll get a firm shift. Every now and then I'll get a flare where the transmission will kind of slip a little bit. But at this point, it's been away from my possession for long enough, and I've put enough money into the vacuum system where I'm pretty happy with it. I know the pump is good. I know the lines are good. We had to replace a bunch of the little valve blocks that distribute where the vacuum goes. We've done leak down tests on it, and it's pretty sorted. It's to the point where like, all right, I'm good to go. I had to replace the climate control, what I would describe as the head unit, the climate control paddle there in the middle, because a pretty common issue on these old W123s, they have this cold solder issue where the solders will fail internally and then they will either work intermittently or stop working altogether. And mine stopped working altogether. Now, I did that job myself. It was really easy. It took a couple of $100, but now we're back in business and I got the heat working. And then just yesterday, I got the AC working as well. So I brought it to German Auto with Toby. He recharged the system. Someone at some point had converted this to the latest R134A refrigerant, and it just took a recharge and the car is humming along happily with AC, which is such a good feeling, especially now that we're hitting 100-degree temperatures here in Colorado. What else has gone wrong on it? Oh, the tachometer started to become intermittent. There's this ghetto fix where you can basically shim the, I believe it's the amplifier in the tachometer, and then that typically brings it to life, and we did that trick and it seems to be working like a dream. But apart from that, I would say 123 ownership has been everything and more that was promised to me by the internet. It really is a truly fantastic automobile. Now, rust is a big concern with these cars. I don't drive it in the winter. That's not true. I do drive it in the winter if it's not salty or snowy or wet. So a lot of times in Colorado, like in February, it may be 20 degrees, but the roads will be dry and then I'll drive it. But you can see that there is some paint hazing and crazing going on down here by the wheels. Let me remember that little dirt away. You can see that starting to poke on through. Over here in the trunk lid, there is a little bit of rust. It hasn't really gotten any worse in the last 2 years, but a little bit of rust there by the diesel. Apart from that though, this car is about as clean as you'll get. The chrome looks really nice. One thing I have noticed, the trunk is surprisingly big and usable. I've got some dry cleaning here, and then I've got just a quick box of recovery gear back here. I have to find a way to stop this trunk mat from sliding around. So if you look, the original trunk mat is just this piece of carpet basically, which covers a piece of cardboard, which then covers the spare tire there. But this just slides around like crazy, and I'm wondering if there's some kind of clips or something I'm missing, but it's really annoying because whenever I put anything in the trunk, it just moves about. Other annoying things on the 123, the seats are pretty bad. They're in really nice condition and they're super original. They've never been replaced. The seats on these cars are stronger than termites, or stronger than roaches, or stronger than pretty much any creature known to man, but they're just not very comfortable. And I was talking to a Moroccan guy actually who used this thing as a taxi for hundreds of thousands of miles, and he agreed with me. Very nicely designed, but there's just no support anywhere. They're kind of flat and blech. But apart from that, the interiors on these cars, really well made. Glove box is all good. Some of the wood starts to peel up over time, but this one's in pretty good shape. Dash currently doesn't have many cracks in it. Headliner's good. Sunroof still works. I mean, you just get such a sense of quality with these vehicles that you don't get in new cars. And I know maybe a lot of that is speculation, but I do think that these cars are longer lived than the newer Mercedes. Oh, back seats are pretty small actually. So this is, you know, the seat in my dad's riding position, and it is pretty tight for friends and rear seat passengers. So that's something to get used to. But apart from that, interior is one of the highlights of this car. But I think the driving experience is really what makes this car super special and super unique. So I spent enough time behind the wheel of this. Let's get Case behind the camera, see what he thinks. He's an old Mercedes guy too, although his is a little bit older and cooler than this one, and we'll get some impressions. So yours is quite a bit older and in a lot of ways quite a bit cooler than this one. You're basically an S-Class.
Yeah, right? Yeah, the precursor to the S-Class. But this, you know, Tommy always says that my Mercedes is cooler than his. This is wicked cool, if nothing else, just purely for the fact that it is in such incredibly good condition. Am I reading it right that this has 150,000 miles on it?
Yeah, that's right. So about quarter life for one of these engines.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, it is slow. It's slower than I thought it was.
Yeah.
Let's see. Full beans.
Wait till you get to about 4,000 though here.
Whoa, she revs.
Yeah.
Actually, okay, off the line it's incredibly slow, but once it gets on the boost and decides to rev a little bit, it starts moving.
It does pretty well, right? I do love looking over that hood at the three-pointed star. I mean, it's just one of the most satisfying experiences in all of Cardiff. It's just to see that like gun sight out way in front of you, you know what I mean?
Yes.
But the steering is good. I mean, it's really tight for 150,000 miles and 40 years old.
Car drives well.
Yeah, the ride isn't clunky, the brakes are pretty good. It's just, these cars are just so well made. So there you have it, the 2-year ownership experience with the old Merc. Some other interesting things. Fuel economy, about mid-20s, which really isn't all that bad for considering it's a giant German tank that's got the aerodynamic profile of a schoolhouse. But yeah, I mean, diesel engines just inherently efficient, super comfortable, pretty safe, by the way, as old cars go. I mean, it's got crumple zones, it's got headrests, 3-pointed seatbelts, so I don't feel super scared driving it on the highway, for example, over long distances. Great car. Unfortunately, they've gotten kind of expensive, which I think is a shame. I bought this one for $6,500 2 years ago. I probably have $2,500 into it in terms of repairs and just getting things perfect. Still have to do the wheels, as Case pointed out, and then I'm pretty golden. But nowadays a good one of these in good conditions, like 8 to 10K, and a wagon can be all the way up to 30,000. So they got really expensive. But if you're interested in a bulletproof classic that'll just run forever, check out the Mercedes 123. Fun to drive, cool to look at, not as flashy as a sports car, but definitely worth a look. Thank you so much for watching. As always, this has been Tommy and Case behind the camera. Check out TFL Classics for the latest and greatest in 123 videos.